whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace. I'm attorney Gavin Richard. I grew up here in New Orleans, so I know how important family, friends, and community are to us. And helping others has been a lifelong passion of mine. If you've been injured in an accident, you may be out of work and faced with large medical bills. You'll need someone to fight the insurance companies so that you can get on with your life. Give me a call at 504-799-2288, and I'll be with you all the way. The law offices of Gavin M. Richard, going the distance so that justice may be served. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. The place to be is right here with me. It is Random Topic Tuesdays, only on channel gboot2786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Tonight on our channel, we'll be discussing the following: Ahmaud Arbery trial, slip-ups and jury selection. Also, the death of General Colin Powell. Black Army lieutenant claims discrimination in New Orleans casino. New Orleans, my kind of town. Or my town, I should say. And Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office deputy under fire for assaulting a black woman. If you are new to this channel, we have over 1,200 subscribers, and we want to thank our subscribers for coming on to this channel. We also had asked if you are interested, as you saw earlier in the previous our previous video. If you'd like to advertise with the channel, you can send an email directly to gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates, or you can subscribe to the Patreon if you want to continue to support this platform. I'd ask if you also check out our seasoning company, NawneysCreoleBlends.com. NawneysCreoleBlends.com. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nawneys goes great with every dish. Also, I have music. I'm also in the music field. If you'd like to check out my latest single, Video Soul, that is available on iTunes, Apple, Spotify, as well as Amazon. You can stream that obviously on Spotify. That would be great if you could. But as always, before we get on down, we got to get on up, which is the theme song of this show and a damn good party song. So, Christmas time is coming around, guys. So you got to get on up on Amazon, Apple, and Spotify and stream that when you're doing the Mistletoe Jam with Luther Vandross, or Dancing to Clarence Carter's Backdoor Santa, or hip-hop classics like Christmas in Hollis, or even Curtis Blow's Christmas Rapping. So those kind of Christmas song itself, but just some jams you like to mix it in with when you're getting ready, or just like listening to it when you're cleaning up the house on the weekend. So as we begin, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, as I prepare for another copyright strike of my own song, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on up.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the...
Right now the party's wasted.
There's nothing much to do, but once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Now 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby. Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up, baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Feel the groove, get on the floor, gotta get on up. Oh, I love that song. I love the fact that I wrote it too, along with Sizzle. Shout out to Sizz, wherever he's doing. He's studying for getting his doctorate, I believe, his certification in music. So shout out to Sizzle. I know he's probably not watching this, but if he gets to replay, shout out to him. What is up, my family? How are you all doing? I hope you are blessed and doing safe. We are live, and I'm coming at you with 5, as we always state here before we begin this program. I know we have more than 6 people that are watching now. Come on, we've had more than that. YouTube is messing with the algorithm or so forth. If you guys got notifications of this, let me know if you did or if you did not. Rather, you got to hit the like, share, and subscribe. You got to subscribe and get the notification bell. So that way you know when I'm going live. We always do this every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I do a live stream. And Thursday, of course, is the busiest live stream that I do. Probably my most famous, because I do it with fellow author and brethren in YouTube in this struggle, Sean James. You can check out, and I'm going to plug his books in, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess and John Haynes Taking Care of Business, that are available on Amazon. That's a good way to support the brother and his platform. Sean has been doing it longer than I mean, Sean has over 12,000 subscribers. I have over 1,200. And essentially, it's something that, and I want to thank my subscribers, and eventually, I want to plan to do something for everyone, my subscribers and those that help uh, with this channel eventually, giving you all a special thank you just for that. My channel, of course, was demonetized, like Sean's, and Sean has over 12,000 subscribers. He should be making revenue from that. But we know YouTube is on some stuff. Uh, Social media in general, all of these social media platforms, I shouldn't just say YouTube, but obviously they're uh, the creme de la creme, as we say, because they're the biggest channel, uh, that platform, I guess, social media platform where everybody can just set up their video camera or video from their computer and go ahead and talk about any topic. And if it's liked, if it goes viral, they can, of course, you monetize these channels, but you're taking this away. And that's why it's important why you see so many people ask you to subscribe to their channels or to donate. You know, people may think I'm just a lawyer and I should afford this, but we ask that you still support the channel because it takes time and effort to put content in, especially taking away from our jobs, because I work from home now, especially with COVID. Aside from running my own law office practice, I have other jobs that I'm doing, like everybody else, we all have a 9 to 5 we do to support ourselves. So, shout out to them, and shout out to Judge Joe Brown. I just saw he replied to a tweet I had on there. We're going to be talking about it. I guess we should get. I was trying to debate which topic we're going to get to, but I guess we'll go ahead and do this one first. I wasn't going to start with it, but on yesterday, news was announced that General Colin Powell, the first Black chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff that happened during the Gulf War in the early 90s, passed away. He died of complications from catching COVID-19, even though he was double jabbed. Now, I have a video I'm going to share with you all this comes from CNN. Someone please put the fair use disclaimer in there. The fair use disclaimer. This is coming from CNN. Of course, under the Copyright Act of 1976, it does allow for fair use for purposes of education, commentary, and news purposes. John Grisham, yeah.
Available wherever you buy books.
Now, John, interesting enough, I didn't know it was going to be on John Grisham, but John Grisham, as you know, is a lawyer. And John Grisham, this is just random stuff. I was a fan of, his movies that came out, but he went to and graduated from Mississippi State University, got his JD at the University of Mississippi, or as they call it, Ole Miss. That's where he got his law degree from. So, anyway, y'all not interested in that. Let's get to the story.
First of all, some of the excerpts, the audio that Bob Woodward got as a result of his final interview in July with the now unfortunately passed away general.
Just for context, I think over his career, Bob Woodward has done more than 50 interviews with Colin Powell. These were done July 12th for the book Peril that he just published. And the first one we're going to listen to is really extraordinary because we're going to hear General Powell talk about his health for the first time. He told Bob Woodward about his health.
Well, you see, I've got to go to the hospital about 2 or 3 times a week. I've got multiple myeloma cancer, and I've got Parkinson's, but otherwise I'm fine.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
Don't say no. I don't feel sorry for me. For God's sake, I'm 85 years old. I've got to have something.
Well,
And I haven't lost a day of life fighting these 2 diseases. I'm in good shape.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, you've never lost a day of life. I mean, think of the activists, the generals, former Secretary of State, now Oracle, right?
Yeah.
and typical self-deprecating humor. I mean, it's nothing short of extraordinary. Here he was suffering from multiple myeloma, really a deadly blood cancer, from Parkinson's. We're in the middle of COVID, and he's saying, "Don't worry about me."
Okay. So Colin Powell. Now Colin Powell, of course, he was suffering from multiple myeloma, which is blood cancer. Uh, Not something you want to have, especially in the wake of this pandemic. He also suffered from Parkinson's disease, from my knowledge, and he contracted COVID-19, as we say. And I saw Davida, yeah, I saw that Kamami Harris was upset over attempts, what she called attempts to politicize Colin Powell's death and vaccination status. Now, we've rarely heard from Vice President Harris in a long. I have not heard. Rarely does she speak. You've noticed that ever since she became vice president, you don't see her talk that often. You don't see her go anywhere. I know she had an appearance on The View that got at the last minute. They took Sonny Holston and Anna Novella or Nuero, whatever her name is. I don't care for them. No, I don't want to get, yeah, but they took her out of The View because they were diagnosed with COVID and it was a false positive. And rumor has it that they pulled them because Sonny was going to give her that business about what was going on with the Haitians crossing over in Texas. And question we got to ask too is I don't know how Haitians get in Texas in the first place, but you look at Haiti, from the distance from Haiti to Texas. I know they didn't swim all the way over there. That's interesting, but nevertheless, another story. So she was upset, of course, about I guess the rumors that are that I got to be careful and preface my comments, as you know, guys, because I have to, when we're talking about you know what, you can have your channel taken away. Now, let me say this, in my personal opinion, because I didn't really try, and I try not to get into it with people on Twitter and so forth. I'm not a physician. I've said that before, and I think the people who comment on these things too, are not are nay or yay. People are not physicians. They have a position they just have a position and belief on what they want to do, what they've heard about their bodies, back and forth. I have been a person that just advocates that you do your research and don't have other people make decisions for you, because at the end of the day, it is your body. And I certainly hate what I see is censorship, where we're trying to prevent a free and open discussion about it. People who are against the jab and people that are for the jab. We are a country right now that is divided. Now, I want to talk about Colin Powell's death, but I'm saying all of this to say, because I had people who, I saw people who were saying, no, he didn't die. He died from this COVID and he was dead. I mean, this proves all of this. And Harris is obviously upset that the family disclosed it. From what I'm hearing, reports are saying she didn't like the fact that it was being politicized. And there was even an article I saw earlier where a lot of people, where even on CBS, or I can't pinpoint the exact source, I'm sorry, but there were people who were upset that that Colin Powell's death was being used to go against the jab. Now, what I'm pointing out though is this, and we also have to, when we have information, especially when we're talking about something like this, we also need to be accurate. And that's all I'm saying with our reporting and how we feel. And put feelings aside, how you feel about it. Colin Powell, when you contract a virus, I know that especially as you get older, your body, your immune system begins to break down, especially when you get older. And being that he had cancer, being that he had COVID, I'm sorry, before COVID, being that he had cancer and Parkinson's, I'm pretty damn sure that wore his body down, especially his immune system, which means that even if he contracted COVID 19, and even though he may have been jabbed, then if his immune system is already weakened, there's a strong possibility that even with the jab, and I'm not a doctor, but just what I know from reading the articles, and I'm going to pull the article up, it was on CBS. They indicated that it can compromise, as they say, immunocompromise. Now, said the irony of the people who advertise on a photo jab don't get censored. That's true too, and that's because they're pushing for everyone to get the jab. But I am essentially still saying everyone should do their research, and I'm also saying that there should be a free and open discussion. I don't believe in people being chastised and criticized for not taking the jab, and I don't believe people should be attacked if they did. That's a personal choice, and frankly, that is something between themselves and their doctor, or that's my personal opinion. That's my belief about that. Anything that relates to your medical health, everybody doesn't have to know. I don't like the censorship that they're doing of people who have had their questions about it, because even I have had questions about it. And I had my video taken down. This channel was my backup channel. Y'all know about this because I did a whole video on it back in May. My backup channel was taken down for a whole week. I'm sorry. That channel was taken down for a whole week by YouTube or ScrewTube. And people who have reasons for not getting jabbed, their religious beliefs, which we know in the First Amendment as well. There's some people who are religious that don't believe in it, and if they don't want to take it based off their First Amendment, everybody has a First Amendment right. That is their right to do so. I defend that. I wholeheartedly. They had an NBA player who asserted his First Amendment right, and they denied it for him up in, I believe, in Milwaukee. And we see that what's happening with Kyrie Irving, although I don't believe Kyrie has asserted, specifically a religious exemption, but the freedom of religion is not so much about an organized religion, it's also about belief, your personal belief. And that's been said in court decisions beforehand. Of course, we talk about it's maybe not the same as Muhammad Ali, because Ali was specifically claiming a legal exemption as a conscientious objector per se. And he was facing prison time for draft dodging. So is Kyrie Irving going to jail or prison for this? Not really, no. But he's about to lose his job. And I saw earlier Adam Silver did a video urging him to take it. I saw Magic Johnson even encouraging people to get vaccinated, and he's saying he wouldn't do that to his teammates, but Magic is too easy. Let's just say that. I'm trying to be nice, but Magic is too damn easy. Let's just put it that way. Y'all already know where I can go with it. I won't do it. But let's move on. So she supposedly, I saw, and I'm going to pull a CBS article up. Now, okay. Now, this is a video that they did on Colin Powell. Let me stop sharing this. I can't even. Sure, absolutely. And some of the same people who say my body, my choice, and vice versa. When it comes to abortion, they'll support that, but not for the jab. I'm trying to be careful with my words.
We want to bring in Dr. Megan Rennie to talk more about General Colin Powell's death. She's an emergency room doctor
Fair
at Brown
use.
University. Doctor, thanks so much for joining us. I think people were surprised to learn that he died from complications of COVID-19, even though he was fully vaccinated. But how much did the cancer he was battling compromise his immune system?
It's quite likely that the cancer, multiple myeloma, was a major factor in the vaccines not working for him. That specific kind of cancer is a cancer of the blood cells. So the very cells that are supposed to fight off COVID and that are supposed to create antibodies in response to the vaccine weren't working well. In addition, it's highly possible that he was on immunosuppressants, things like steroids or immunotherapy, which also make the vaccine not work so well. So I wouldn't blame this on the vaccine, but rather, unfortunately, on his underlying healthcare condition.
General Powell was 84 years old. How much was age a factor?
Age was likely a large factor. When you combine age with an underlying health condition that makes the vaccines not work as well, that was unfortunately a fatal combination when he got exposed to COVID.
And General Powell's spokesperson confirmed he had not yet had his third shot. Do you think that played a factor?
It may have. We've been recommending boosters for people who are immunosuppressed, including folks who have cancer or on chemo or on other immunosuppressants. If you are in one of those high-risk groups, please do go out and get your booster.
Well, Dr. Rennie, thank you for answering so many questions that so many people have about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, okay. So that was on CBS News. That was Norah O'Donnell. That was Dr. Megan Rennie. Now, I do want to share this. It does state here that, gosh, my channel, I don't know if my channel is going to survive. Well, remember, Long, you can have, well, let me just stop and say this, and let me give you all a legal thing, too, because I've seen this even on a lot of death certificates and doing successions. You can actually have multiple causes of death. For instance, if you die of a heart attack, I've seen people that died of listed primary cause of death was heart attack, but then the secondary cause of death may have been, they'll include complications from diabetes or arteriosclerosis, which of course means hardening of the arteries in the heart. So that contributes to a person having a heart attack or a stroke. Then it will indicate that. Now, of course, I am not saying, and they are indicating, yes, he did die of the woo-woo, as our brother Torian Rain would say. But here's the thing, too. Even with that, he's battling 2 other diseases as well. So, given his age, given those factors, that played a role in his, sadly, I believe, just by learning all of that, he had an uphill battle to fight. Now, and yeah, they were doing that, and they do that because they just added it on. They get monies when people are in those hospitals because somebody's going to pay for the machine, somebody's going to pay for the oxygen, the use of the room, all of that cost when you stay there every night, people taking care of you. But let me also say, just like when they brought up Hank Aaron, given his age when he got, the jab, could it have been a complication? I don't think so. I'm not aware. I haven't read it. I'm trying to be I'm going to lose the channel. But it could have also been that he was just old at 87. You don't know. Now, I know of some cases where there were, and this was in the news about the Johnson & Johnson with the clots. That's all public information. And they had to pull it for a while. And I've seen people have made arguments about that, and that's fine. And people should question, if they have questions about certain things, what's in their bodies. Let's see. But I want to talk about Mr. Powell in particular. And especially people who have cancer, it depends. They need to talk with their doctor before getting any type of vaccine. This is on the cancer.org website. So people should certainly talk with your doctors. That's why I say do more research into this before you decide whatever you want to do. Having said all of that, main reason why I pulled up that article from CNN, and also because I'm going to put this article up here. This is from the New York Times. They call it and title it Colin Powell, the missed opportunities, a study in America's missed opportunities. Now, I remember for years, back when he was, I don't remember him as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staffs in the Pentagon. I was about 5 years old when the Gulf War started. So I vaguely remember stuff like that. I may have seen him on television, I think once or so. I didn't really think not much of him. But I remember when Colin Powell became, they were calling for, back in 1996, for him to run against Bill Clinton for president in 1996. And he would have been beating Barack Obama, the quote unquote first black president. Or from what I hear, even although we don't have a foundation of black American as president, we have not. That's just a fact. And Colin Powell, if I'm not mistaken, he is, his family is from the islands. But nevertheless, okay, let's say he would have been the first black president for argument's sake. He didn't run. And of course, we know Clinton wins that presidency, that race against Bob Dole. And then in 2000, Al Gore loses to George Bush in controversial fashion, I might add, because the Supreme Court gifted him that position. So Powell chose not to run, and he became and served under George W. Bush as George W. Bush, 43, as a Secretary of State. And he would have been, as a Secretary of State, I believe, fourth in line of succession of the presidency. Of course, there was the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House, and then Colin Powell. And I never really saw when Colin Powell, a lot of people I remember were disappointed when he became Secretary of State serving under George W. Bush, because, especially black people, because we didn't like Bush. And after what happened in Florida, especially with him being the governor in the state of Texas, supposedly suppressing voter rights laws, and a bunch of other stuff. And, excuse me, especially, and this is what really ended his career and really made him look bad, was that he was the man who, this is another article from Intercept, Colin Powell is the man who helped destroy Iraq, a nice man. Remember, as Secretary of State, he stated to the United Nations that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Now, this is my first time even clicking on this article. I didn't even know it would be like this. And they got this gentleman, Muqtadir al-Zadi, saying, "I'm saddened by the death of Colin Powell without being tried for his crimes in Iraq." Yeah, remember, he was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staffs under George H.W. Bush. That was 41. So he served under 41, and he served under 43, becoming the first Black Secretary of State. And even, I remember when he spoke at the United Nations talking about how Iraq had weapons of mass destruction versus a video that he had did previously. And if you saw Fahrenheit 911, where he stated, I believe it was back in 2000 or 2001, that Iraq did not have any weapons of mass destruction. Saddam Hussein did not have this. Now, we just got to call things out for what they were. Yeah, he was, he was highly successful in his rank as a general, and some people looked up to him, but this destroyed his career. This destroyed any credibility. And I try not to speak ill of the dead, but the dead, are dead. And this stood the test of time. And this was said even before he was deceased. We all saw and heard him give a speech at the United Nations, 76-minute speech, stating that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. I'm not going to play the whole thing.
The Security Council will now begin of the agenda.
He testified to this. And I've talked with Judge Jill Brown. I talked with him earlier, and he knew Colin Powell, and he had a lot of respect for him. And even Minister Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan had a lot of respect for Colin Powell. If you look at some old videos, because he talked about it. Because even Colin Powell, if I'm not mistaken, was supposed to be at the Million Man March back in 1995. And his handlers told him not to appear with anything with Minister Farrakhan. So he was respected in some ways, but that destroyed what would be a brilliant military career of one of the finest generals that the United States military ever produced, because he participated in the destruction of another country. And it's sad, but it's the truth. Thousands of young Americans, over 4,000 soldiers died, not to mention the several 100,000 of Iraqis who died. There were no weapons of mass destruction, no anthrax, no nuclear weapons, nothing. I remember when the United States was attacked under 9/11, we were told that it was the Saudis, members of who were part of this. It had nothing to do with Saddam Hussein. But what it was that George W. Bush and his family, as well as Dick Cheney, they were trying to, Dick Cheney, who was the former chair of Halliburton, they were interested in collecting their money, their oil and money. That area of Iraq where the whole war was taking place in the Middle East, that area, of course, was rich in oil. Things that happened in Persian Gulf. That area was rich in oil. And Afghanistan, of course, we know, poppy. Let's just put it that way. Now, Powell stated that I didn't have any choice. What choice did I have? He's the president. So he knew that there had no evidence of this, but he went along with it anyway. He failed to stand up, and what he could have done, and he did eventually resign from the administration back in 2004, but he could have put a stop to it and stepped up back in 2003 when all of this stuff started, 2002 2003, when all of this stuff was pushing forward. I saw a video, I don't know if I can get it, but a young man, George W. Bush, was giving a speech, and somebody in the audience was heckling him real bad over it. I remember when they threw a shoe at Bush. Yeah, this is it here. So this was last month. This was before Colin Powell's death.
Mr. Bush, when are you going to apologize for the million Iraqis that are dead because you lied? You lied about weapons of mass destruction. You lied about Afghanistan. You lied about Iraq. You sent me to Iraq. You sent me to Iraq. My friends are dead. Just like Castillo. You killed these things. You lied. You lied about WNT. A million Iraqis are dead because you lied. My friends are dead because you lied. You need to apologize. Apologize.
Right. So that was that video. But then, and I'm correlating it also, the article I just showed you, but also with the New York Times article. They say that it's inaccurate. These are their words. This is unfair and historically inaccurate, referring to the fact that Powell, quote, lacked the spine or the political infighting skills to do so. He says, easily forgotten now, the idea that Saddam Hussein posed a unique threat to global security was widely shared at the time of invasion, including by Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, and Adam Schiff, to name a few. Well, the only problem with that, too, is that Hillary Clinton was a senator. She was not in the Bush cabinet. Neither was John Kerry or Joe Biden. Neither was Chuck Schumer and Adam Schiff. Mr. Powell, General Powell, was the Secretary of State. And he had a much closer audience with the president, with the intelligence community, to get the right information. So I have mixed feelings about your General Powell. I don't, of course, wish death on anybody. That's me. But him being a part of that cabinet, and of course, even if he stood up, as a yes man, he could have resigned if he wanted to right then, if he knew it was false. And he even said it was the worst. It was the worst part of my career. That's what he's most known for now, for messing that up. But he was not president. Yeah, I get that. But I, again, have it's a mixed bag for me. I remember stuff like this. And if he had any knowledge, and I'm only saying allegedly because I wasn't there, but we know that they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. So the way it works in court is that ignorance of the law is no excuse. And even if I didn't know, or he would not have been aware of that, he should have been aware of it, because just like in civil suits, even if you don't have knowledge that one of your employees did something incorrect and they do it anyway, you are still, if that employee was under your supervision during the time an incident occurred, they could still be liable. Now, he would be an employee. Obviously, the employer would be the United States and George Bush, W. Bush at that time. But I have a mixed bag about Colin Powell. And, I know a lot of people don't look at him as a hero. If you want to say war hero, if you're in the military, that's one way. But for me, and the way I look at it, he was part of one of the most vicious, twisted, dastardly administrations of my lifetime as president. And maybe that's not all on him, but he's a part of that forever. And I'll leave it at that. But I do say to his family, I send my condolences because I don't wish death on anybody. That's just me personally. And I'll just leave it at that. All right. Next topic I want to talk about, guys, we're going to move quickly, is the murder trial of Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan. I call it the Ahmaud Arbery trial because everybody knows it involved Ahmaud Arbery, but it's really those three gentlemen who are involved in his death. Slip-ups in jury selection. So right now, as we speak, there's jury selections that has been started as of Monday in regards to the Ahmaud Arbery, the McMichael Bryan trial of the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. That's the way I should say it. So this article came up on Vice.com. Court mistakenly gave potential jurors access to Ahmaud Arbery's mental health history. The Glenn County Superior Court website gave potential jurors access to suppressed evidence in the murder trial of Ahmaud Arbery's killers. This is an article from Vice. Now that's Ahmaud Arbery. You've seen this family, this picture of him that was provided by his family. But right now, they're trying the alleged murders of Ahmaud Arbery. And the Georgia County Court mistakenly exposed potential jurors to suppress evidence, including his mental health history, which a judge banned from the trial. Jury candidates who visit the Glenn County Superior Court website seeking information about what time and what day they need to show up can view in just a couple of clicks all of the motions filed so far in the murder trial of Travis and Gregory McMichael and William Roddy Bryan. Those documents include specifics about Arbery's mental health and prior criminal history that a judge ordered suppressed and never brought up in court. The motions also include evidence that prosecutors would like to use against the McMichaels, including a Confederate flag vanity plate on Travis's truck and how often the father and son had used their licensed firearms. The judge has yet to make a ruling on the admissibility of the evidence. If a jury candidate were to read that information, it would make them ineligible to sit on the jury that will determine the McMichaels and Bryan's fates. And if that person was shown to be chosen for the jury, it could be grounds for a mistrial, although that's unlikely, legal experts told Vice News. Prominently displaying that information and it being accessible to jurors with just a click of a button, I would say is problematic. That comes from Suparna Malampati, a professor at John Marshall Law School in Atlanta. When potential jurors have information they may or may not be admitted in the courtroom, the jurors may be influenced. And that is true. If they have information, especially that comes from an outside source, information that is certainly suppressed, like Ahmaud Arbery's mental health history, which that could impact the jury pool by no doubt. So then, as I read further, it states here, the Glenn County Superior Court clerk, Ronald Adams, said, "We are aware of that issue and a decision about that will be made by the judge." Now, keep in mind, anything you file in court, now we know this for a fact, is public record because it's open to the public. It's not something private. However, anything dealing with suppressed motion, suppressed evidence is something that cannot be seen in front of the trier of fact, i.e. the jury in this case. And here we have a case that has not even started. You're picking potential jurors and you allow this slip up to occur. Now, this could to me, and I don't think this will result in mistrial. I think what eventually may happen, since it's brought out to the public now, the judge may dismiss the potential jurors that have all come in and have to do a new roll, but they can possibly pick other jurors from another county. That might be, excuse me, guys, another option. But that certainly would impact the timing of this trial if that's the case. If the judge rules that, uh, you know, to get out new notices out to potential jurors, sending that in the mail to notify them of showing up to jury duty, it could cause a delay. I don't know, a big delay of how long, but that could be problematic. Now, we know the story of this case, which is these three men, William Roddy Bryan, Travis McMichael, and his father Greg McMichael, were chasing Ahmaud Arbery as he jogged in the neighborhood of Brunswick, Georgia on February 23rd, 2020. The three men are facing 9 criminal charges each, including felony murder and false imprisonment. The McMichaels insisted that the 25-year-old black male was a local burglar, grabbed their guns, and followed him in their truck to conduct a citizen's arrest. Bryan followed in his own vehicle and filmed the encounter. When Travis McMichael confronted Arbery, the two got into a scuffle over Travis's shotgun. Travis then fired 3 strikes, striking Arbery twice in the chest in what he claims was self-defense. All 3 men have pled not guilty. On the day Arbery died, he stopped by an empty house under construction near the McMichael's place, and the defense initially wanted to introduce evidence regarding his past with law enforcement in an attempt to argue he was using jogging as a cover to commit the crimes. They also wanted to enter evidence about Arbery's mental health to argue that he may have influenced his actions, that the mental health issues may have influenced his actions the day of his death. Now, what they're doing, of course, guys, they're asserting a self-defense claim, and the job is to, of course, paint the victim as the perpetrator. Now, I know what they're doing from a legal standpoint, and this is what defense attorneys do, especially if you're making a self-defense claim. You have to show that the perpetrator, either by what we saw in the video, was responsible for his own death, and that the person who pulled the trigger did so legally and in fear of his life. It all boils down this to me, and yes, I know there's a trial going on with it. We saw the video, 58 seconds of it. These men following this man, boxing him in, preventing him to leave. Now, what we do know is that they are not police officers. One is a retired investigator. That doesn't mean you're a cop. You're retired. When you're retired, it means you out the game. The other one, well, he served in the Coast Guard, but he is not law enforcement. Then we know the other person who was filming, and according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, they said he was actually more directly involved in the case. This is what they're saying, alleged to have happened, than what he led on by saying, I just was filming the encounter. No, you weren't. According to what they said, you hit Arbery with this car. You followed in pursuit. You were actively involved with the chase as well. This is was reported at the preliminary hearing. I'm only going on what happened in that case when the head investigator testified. Now, 95% of the time, a preliminary hearing only means that the court finds probable cause for a matter to move for trial. It doesn't mean that the person is guilty yet, because why? That happens when the jury gets sworn in, when the trial begins. So here we have a situation where jury selection hasn't even begun, and we got someone mistakenly putting these motions up where the jurors could access it. The judge ruled that Arbery's mental health history was not admissible. He said so because his right of medical privacy, even in death, still runs. And he did not want to put Arbery on trial. Now, could this trigger a mistrial? It's maybe very slim, my opinion. But y'all, I know your antennas are raised when you look at this because everybody who was a potential juror saw this information. Now we also got to wonder what will be the ethnic makeup, what will be the makeup of the jury at this trial. Good afternoon, Vulcan. Good evening, I should say. Told y'all it's been a busy day. What up, Frank Nitty? So we don't know. So will this have an impact? It's very possible it could. And I saw Lee Merritt is out there because Lee Merritt represents the family, and he had some stuff to say on Twitter. Hold on. Oh God, he went to the grill. Bussy Central. I won't talk about it. But he spoke with April Ryan, saying we want to make sure that African Americans are not being struck from the jury pool by basis of race alone. This is a highly publicized trial that very few people can legitimately say they never heard of. Luckily, that does not mean that they cannot be a part of the jury, Merritt told the Grill. The concern is whether or not they've developed an opinion about the case. That is correct, and judges will ask you that. Merritt believes race is transcendently tied to all aspects of the case, including the jury selection process. While the defense may attempt to suggest black people are under consideration to join the jury or biased by the racial nature of the crime, Merritt urges black people to understand that they are not swayed one way or another just because of their identity. We often believe by virtue of our skin color alone that we may have a dog in the fight, Merritt added. Obviously, we want diversity on the jury. In cases like this of violence, you tend to lean towards, if you're looking for prosecution, tend to lean towards women, mothers, and who often put a high value on life. And certainly you want people of color who know what it's like to be discriminated against, to be targeted by virtue of their race or their gender or their religious background. That's Travis McMichael, that's Gregory McMichael, and that's William Ryder Bryan. Now, bear in mind that these men have also been charged with federal civil rights violations as well. Both the FBI and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation probed the case, and the Assistant United States Attorney Tara Lyons of the Southern District of Georgia will prosecute it separate from the state proceeding that begins on Monday. So there's different divisions, different jurisdictions that are going to be trying this case. Now, I want to go ahead and play a video. This is Ahmaud Arbery's mother. Six-minute clip. Again, fair use.
Jury selection began today in the trial of three white Georgia men charged with murdering 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery.
I don't even want to play nothing with her. I just have no respect for her. Hold on. We're going to find another video. Excuse me. No, I can't have Joy Reid on my channel. By the way, this trial is going to be broadcast live. Jury selection began, and we'll go to ABC News.
There's still many reminders of the faults that still need to be fixed. In a Georgia courtroom today, jury selection began in the trial of three men accused of murdering an unarmed black man. It was an incident that shook America right at the start of the pandemic last year. Ahmaud Arbery was killed in February of 2020 while out for a jog in the small town of Brunswick, Georgia. But it wasn't until more than 2 months later, after graphic video was released and protests erupted, that the three white men involved were ultimately charged and arrested. We'll get to all the tributes to Colin Powell in a moment, but we begin with Elwin Lopez on the trial that is expected to captivate the country.
Hundreds of potential jurors showing up today as jury selection kicks off in the trial of 3 men accused of killing Ahmaud Arbery. His death is sparking a national outcry going far beyond this coastal community.
We all don't have to look alike. We don't all have to believe in the same beliefs. But we are so much greater together.
1,000 mailboxes hit with jury duty notices. That's about 1 out of 85 residents in Glenn County.
Simply because the case is in the media doesn't mean that you can't find jurors who will be able to approach the case without, having already made up their minds.
Prosecutors say the 25-year-old was fatally shot in February of last year while he was on a jog near Brunswick, Georgia. The cries for justice amplified, with people taking to the streets after this cell phone video of Arbery's final moments emerged. It appears to show Gregory and Travis McMichael chasing after Arbery. Their attorneys say they suspected he was a burglar after seeing him enter a home under construction that same day. Travis calling 911.
I was leaving the neighborhood and I just caught a guy running into a house being built 2 houses down from me.
Neighbor William Roddy Bryan took the video. After this brief altercation, it allegedly shows Travis shooting and killing Arbery.
All right, guys, everybody's got their weapons up, correct?
The immediate aftermath caught on police body camera. Arbery's body still on the ground.
They start wrestling and Travis shoots him around the damn chest. The guy was trying to take the shotgun away from him.
At one point, Bryan claims Travis McMichael uttered a racial slur while Arbery was on the floor.
Mr. Bryan said that after the shooting took place, before police arrival, while Mr. Arbery was on the ground, that he heard Travis McMichael make a statement.
He also allegedly told authorities he tried to block Arbery with his vehicle. Bryan speaking with police.
I mean, if the guy would have stopped, find out what was going on, this would have never happened. Should we have been chasing him? I don't know.
We believe that Roddy was nothing more than a witness to the shooting on that day, and that he acted in good faith at all times.
The 3 suspects were not arrested until more than 2 months later after 2 different district attorneys recused themselves and failed to bring charges.
The 2 different.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation got the case.
Let me stop that for a second. I'm gonna continue the video. But the 2 Georgia district attorneys, the female that we mentioned, Miss Johnson, I use Miss lightly, and the other district attorney, guys, I should know this like the bottom of my hand, but I don't. But those DAs, Jackie Johnson and the other district attorney in the neighboring area, they protected, I'm saying it, they protected these people. They protected these motherfuckers. I'm just being real. It is what it is at this point. Yes, I'm all for due process and them getting their due process rights. I have to, as a lawyer, but Barnhill, George Barnhill, he was the Waycross Judicial Circuit District DA. And he wrote a letter to the Sheriff's Department essentially stating why the McMichaels should not be prosecuted for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. Now, if you want to be a defense attorney, Mr. Carr, if you want to be a defense attorney, go be a defense attorney, Mr. Barnhill. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the AG. The AG's name of George out in Georgia, his name is Carr. But if you want to be, I'm talking specifically about George Barnhill. If you want to go and be a fucking defense attorney, go be a criminal defense attorney and represent the McMichaels yourself. Otherwise, be a DA and bring charges like they're supposed to be brought when there's probable cause. Let's continue.
And some 36 hours after this video went viral, that arrest really started to happen. So it was really public pressure and outcry for the most part.
The McMichaels charged on May 7th and Bryan almost 2 weeks later.
I'm tired of all kids living in fear.
You know, we got kids, grandchildren, all that stuff we got to worry about there in the future. And I'm scared they can't be going for a run, fearing for their life, ducking bullets. It's got to stop.
Two arguments that are expected to play heavily in this case are then citizens arrest law and whether or not the McMichaels acted in self-defense.
What we're going to see here to try to beat those charges are going to be the old citizens arrest law, and I say it's old because it has roots from the pre-Civil War era.
That citizens arrest law was just repealed in May, the jury now having to separate the past from the present.
It's going to be a constant reminder from both the judge and, of course, the defense attorneys that say, hey, we know that citizens arrest is gone. We know that the political climate changed it because of this murder, but that's something you cannot think about. And that's going to be very difficult for a lot of people because common sense would say, well, if you change this law because of the death of Ahmaud Arbery, there must have been something wrong with it.
Elwin Lopez, ABC News, Brunswick, Georgia.
Elwin, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get
this weasel. All right. So you heard that there, guys. Let me say this, that law, if we go back, and I've done videos on it before. If you saw my video, Murder in Brunswick, that I did, it was one of the standalone videos I did. That law, when you're talking about a citizen's arrest, that can only apply if that person, if the parties who make the citizen's arrest witnessed a crime that had taken place. So the question they're going to have to ask, and we all going to have to ask is, at that time that they went after Ahmaud Arbery, did they know for a fact he committed a crime? Yeah, he went into another person's property, which could be considered a trespass, but it was a misdemeanor. It was not a felony. Also, you take in consideration, they don't know for a fact, in my opinion, how did they know Ahmaud Arbery wasn't invited on the property? Just saying. You just saw him running and saw him in there, and you thought he resembled someone from previous crimes. Resembled means you look like it. Doesn't mean for sure. Now, I digress, and they're going to make their argument in court, and we're going to get to see. And you know what? It might be good if we can stream that trial live on this channel and we give commentary. I'm thinking about doing that when the trial starts. I may not be able to do it every day, but I think I might stream the trial when the jury, after the jury is selected. If I have free time, I probably would do that, although these things can last, all day. But it'd be fair to give some commentary on it and also for everybody to see it, because this one, the George Floyd case was bad, but this one was even worse because these were vigilante. This was, in my opinion, this was vigilantism, straight up and down. White vigilantes going after a brother. I digress. So then we got this other story. We're moving into the heart of my city. A Black Army lieutenant claims discrimination in New Orleans casino. This happened earlier, about a couple of weeks ago. This went viral. This is a story of an Army lieutenant by the name of Deja Harrison. She's a second lieutenant, and she was attempting to get into the Harrah's casino a few weeks back. Now, this story, of course, is coming courtesy of WGNO. We'll go down for the news.
Against Harrah's casino. She claims she was the victim of racial profiling.
WGNO's Kenny Lopez has the allegation and what Harrah's is saying about it. I'm not saying
this video of a casino.
I don't think it's you.
Between 23-year-old U.S. Army Second Lieutenant Deja Harrison and a Harrah's casino employee has gone viral.
This picture right here, you don't think that this is me? I had two IDs. This is my face.
Harrison says she went to Harrah's for her stepbrother's 21st birthday on October 5th, but Harrah's didn't let her in with her military ID after her.
Okay, before we do that, But I want y'all to pay attention to the back of the ID card, but we'll continue the video. But remind me to go back to it. But that's the ID card. That's her ID, her military ID, and I believe this appears to be her driver's license in her hand.
Driver's license wouldn't scan. It turned into a 2-hour ordeal with Harris telling Harrison they were going to call the cops.
Actually, I'm a second lieutenant now. You don't believe that I'm a second lieutenant. So what's the problem?
He looks at the ID, and he like just looks at the rank, and he's just like, "This ID is fake. This isn't you. There's no way possible that you made this rank in a short period of time." Looking like I'm literally shocked that somebody would say I'm lying about being in the army. I just shouldn't have been profiled. There are black women in the military that are excelling. I went as far as showing the host my military pay stub, so there was no reason why I shouldn't have gotten into the casino.
Harris released this statement on Twitter about the interaction. To comply with gaming regulations, Harrah's New Orleans checks IDs for our guests who appear to be under 30 years old. To do so, we use an approved electronic reader, similar to what you would find at an airport TSA checkpoint. Our team members are trained to evaluate identification in accordance with local regulations. In this case, Ms. Harrison, who appeared to be under 30, presented a Louisiana driver's license that did not clear our electronic verification system. When asked for an alternative form of identification, she presented a military ID card, but the information on the military ID card did not match the information she had verbally communicated to our security officers. As a result, in compliance with applicable gaming regulations, our security officers did not permit Ms. Harrison to enter the casino. Caesars Entertainment has an unwavering commitment to diversity and our military. We are saddened by this situation and will continue to evaluate our processes to ensure that we uphold both our commitment to our guests and our regulators. We have reached out to Ms. Harrison, who let us know she will be retaining legal counsel. As such, we will have no further comment. Harrison's lawyer now says that statement's not enough.
There's no apology in that statement, but in Harrah's statement, they seek to blame her. She just informed the manager, truthfully, that was my rank, and now I've been promoted. That's not an inconsistency, that's a clarification.
Now they filed an internal civil complaint with the Department of Justice asking for an investigation. Separately, they will be filing a civil rights lawsuit.
We're seeking accountability, and there needs to be some repercussions.
He didn't even give me a shot. He didn't even scan the ID.
We'll do this. I'll call NOPD, and then you can
call them. Call them. Please call them.
Like, I was upset. I was hurt.
I asked Harrison's lawyer what kind of compensation they'd be seeking. He said they would leave that up to a trial jury as to what they see is fit.
All right, Kenny Lopez reporting for us downtown. Keep us posted on the story. Kenny.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Kenny. Okay, so before I go to that, let me just show you this sister, cute sister, by the way. I'm just saying. I gotta point that out. Now, you gotta be 21 years of age or older in order to gamble. Just like you want to buy a lottery ticket. Now, if you want to buy cigarettes, they raise the price up. It used to be 18. They raised that up. Now, let me say this. It is a federal offense for anyone to be possessing a fake military ID card. So, a man was sentenced, this was in 2010, a Cabazon man was sentenced to federal prison for possessing fake military identification card at 46 years old. And he was sent to 6 months in federal prison. And he presented it to a police officer. He was discharged from the Navy, this was Joseph Baca, in 1982 for unsatisfactory performance while working at the Navy after serving only for 3 months. Admitted that he possessed the U.S. Army identification card that he created himself, knowing that he was not allowed to manufacture or possess the document. Now, so this is a crime, okay, to do something like that. Now, I say all of that to say, and he was also wearing a fake Army uniform and military medals that weren't awarded to him, and even a Purple Heart and Silver Star. Now, I'm saying all of this to say that why would she told him, and you don't see any video of the altercation after in regards to the police coming to the scene of the crime or anything like that. I wish there was. But why would this woman, if she were guilty of faking an ID, why would she tell the man, come on, bring the police? Now, you saw earlier when I had this video up, when I had the video up, I guess I'll go back to it if I can. But I had the picture up of the cops, of not the cop, the security guard scanning and her holding up her ID. Now, let's go back to the video for a second. Now, this is what I was showing you all. So this is on her Instagram page.
Now says that statement's not enough.
There's no apology in that statement, but in Harrah's statement, they seek to blame her. She just informed the manager truthfully, that was my rank, and now I've been promoted. That's not an inconsistency.
Now, that's her ID card.
Now they filed an internal civil complaint with the Department of Justice asking for an investigation. Separately, they will be filing a civil right.
Now, let me pause it. Now, the reason why I wanted you all to pay attention to the back of the card, you see here, this is what appears to be her Louisiana driver's license. And her sister's a graduate of, she's a student in Grambling. I wouldn't brag on that, but okay, that's another story. And that's her military ID, and you see the stripes there that they use to scan that as well. So obviously they had some issue with their machine. They're claiming her ID wouldn't scan, so she pulls her military ID out, and
it's lawsuit.
He says it doesn't look like her. Now, she states on her Instagram report, before I verbally communicated anything about my rank, I was denied access, so what Harrah said was not the reason why I was denied. In the video, I corrected my rank since Corey thought, Corey being the security guard, I couldn't be an E6. I'll let you know, I was actually a newly promoted second lieutenant. Additionally, they did not ask me for another ID. I offered after the card reader did not work. Never was my military ID scanned, but the employees are trained, so why wasn't it scanned? And that's very important. Now you see why I showed that back of the card to you all. It was not scanned. And they could have easily fixed it if they had scanned the whole thing. But they chose not to, and this guy insulted Miss Harrison apparently because he didn't believe she achieved that rank. She goes on to say commitment to diversity in the military, referring to Harris's statement in the WGNO video. But a black woman can't be in the Army with rank. I was profiled. My picture and date of birth is on both of my IDs. I showed my vaccination card and Army pay stub. You forgot to mention that also as a result, the police were called on a black female military officer to explain to them that I am the person on ID, on the identification. Instead of apologizing and taking accountability, Harris decided to double down. I'm not here for it. Yeah, they had no apology in that statement. They just said, well, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I don't, in the police calling them, they couldn't verify that because they wouldn't have that information. All they can go on is her identification if they did. But, you know, she also has, and while Louisiana is what we call a stop and identify state, she has at that point never committed any crime. All that happened was he didn't want to be recorded. He asked her not to. He denied that she was a second lieutenant. And he decided to call the police because he didn't want to deal with it, just from what I'm looking at on these facts. Now, this is what I want everybody to do. I'm gonna follow, even though she's a Grambling Tiger. I'm a Jaguar. I'm gonna follow this sister because I respect her military service. She's also, according to this, a producer, and a journalist. So looks like she is a sports writer. I don't know if she's a sports writer or whatever, but what is Meredith's Corporation? So it's a media corporation. So I'm gonna go ahead and support this sister and follow her. Hopefully I can, and I like to reach out to her. So she covers the SWAC. So that's good. That's a good thing. SWAC, of course, it's not a Division One, but it's a 1A. And HBCU, Army officer, and from NOLA, she's from here. Okay, shout out to her. But I want to make this statement, especially as it concerns our Black veterans. So Superstar Bella, she says she worked in the gaming industry. Says you worked in the gaming industry, and him not letting her in meant that they were at capacity for Black people. They do this quite often. Oh, no doubt. They do this even at your clubs around town. They have limits on people who they want to allow in the club. That happens all the time. Oh, no doubt. I don't deny that. But let me say this. Remember, we saw that video that happened out in Virginia of that Black lieutenant, even though it was Black Hispanic lieutenant, that had his hands out, was pulled over because of his, I believe this too. Oh, no doubt. Lieutenant, that second lieutenant who was pulled and dragged out of his car, maced by the police and handcuffed, put in the back of his car, and they finally, I guess they half-assed apologize for what happened. Y'all remember this? Joe Gutierrez and Daniel Crocker. They stopped Army 2nd Lieutenant Colin Nazario. Y'all remember this? See, this is what they think of our Black veterans. Hold on.
Draw their weapons.
How many occupants?
Y'all remember this? And
It's only myself. Why are your weapons drawn? What's going on?
2 officers stopping U.S. Army Lieutenant Colin Nazario for not having a rear license plate on his new SUV, according to a police report, which also notes they later saw a temporary tag inside, taped to the tinted window.
I'm serving this country and this is how I'm treated?
Yo, but guess what? I'm a veteran too. I'm gonna obey.
I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I ask you what's going on?
About a minute later, Officer Joe Gutierrez, whose termination was announced late Sunday, pepper sprays Nazario.
Get out of the car now. Get out of the car now.
I'm trying to breathe.
Gutierrez and his former partner Daniel Crocker now facing a $1 million lawsuit, alleging a violation of constitutional rights. Nazario, who is Black and Latino, says it was due to racial profiling.
Take off your seatbelt and get out of the car.
Look, I'm just gonna please.
You're gonna do what you're told.
The lawsuit filed earlier this month also claims police threatened to end Nazario's military career if he spoke out about the incident.
My client wants to prevent those 2 officers from doing it to anyone else.
Tonight, the town of Windsor, Virginia, describing the events as unfortunate, as Virginia's governor calls for an independent investigation.
Investigate
Jeff
what?
Bennett, NBC News.
Y'all saw what happened.
Thanks for watching our.
That just means the bad guys investigate themselves. He gets to find, if he gets fired, he gets to find another job somewhere else. But point being, guys, and you're absolutely right, Bella, the gaming industry is racist. A lot of industries that we try to get into is extremely racist. In fact, I'm reading a book right now. I recommend everybody get this book. Hold on a second. I'm going to pull it up. Some night reading. I've been doing. I got to remember I'm on this, but it's a book called Deconstructing Sammy. Now, let me bookmark this before I go back to a little bit. But this is a book I wrote. This is a book I'm reading. This is on Sammy Davis Jr. Y'all ought to read this book so far, and it's basically about the life of Sammy Davis Jr. How he ended up making millions of dollars and then dying in debt. Now, maybe I might have Matt Burkback come on the channel, but it's interesting. Superstar Bella brings this point up because when you said the gaming industry was racist, I'm reading a story in here about how Sammy Davis Jr. dealt with racism, and in particular, the racism he experienced in Las Vegas, Nevada, where in Vegas, he was not, while his father and his uncle, because he was part of what was called the Will Maston Trio, that was made up of his dad, Sammy Davis Sr., and his uncle, Will Maston, his uncle, they were not allowed to gamble or stay at the Sands Hotel, but they were allowed to perform. And Sammy, there's an interesting story that takes place here where he was at the Sands Hotel walking in. They were filming Ocean's 11. He and Sinatra and Dean Martin and Peter Lawford and Joey Bishop, all those guys. And his stand-in was actually at the Sands Hotel at the slots and was forcibly removed. And as Sammy is walking in, he sees what's going on and asks his stand-in, Joe Jackson, that was the man's name, "What's going on? What happened?" And he said, "I tried to gamble. They won't let me." And he said, "Of course you can." And the manager of the Sands Hotel nervously comes up to Sammy and says, "Oh, absolutely," and gives Joe Jackson a handful of coins and then tells him that if anything happens, you let me know. But you have fun. And he refused to practice at places that practice racial segregation. And it wasn't just there. He talked about when he was headlining at the Frontier Casino. That was one place. He had to lodge in a rooming house on the west side of the city because that's where blacks stayed. You know, Las Vegas was hugely segregated at that time. Hugely segregated. So that was the stuff that Sammy Davis Jr., had to deal with as a kid. Will Maston was his godfather, right? Damn, I didn't know it was Will Maston who died in 1979. Damn, he was 100 when he died. Wow. But I'm bringing it up because, Bella, you brought that point home about the gaming industry, and I just think of that and what our people had to deal with in segregation. So y'all should get this book. But you say Sammy Davis Jr. is your favorite entertainer. I was 4 when Sammy Davis Jr. died. I don't remember him. Only thing I remember about him was the movie Tap. And years later, of course, I saw his video, saw how great of a performer he was. And, the All in the Family episode where he meets Archie Bunker. I think that's probably one of the greatest television episodes in TV history. When Archie Bunker is asking Sammy, you're being colored. I know you had no control over that. But whatever made you turn Jew? And Sammy kissing him in on the cheek. And before that, when he's telling Edith, when he comes over, whatever you do, don't mention his eye. And he said, don't mention his eye. And Archie says, as Archie is having tea with Sammy. He said, Mr. Coffee or tea. He said, Mr. Junior, Mr. Davis, do you like cream or sugar in your eye? No. And you know what's interesting too, Bella? Frank Sinatra changed a lot of that. Frank Sinatra is one of the few white artists I love. Tina Marie, Bobby Caldwell, and Hall & Oates, okay. But I have a lot of respect for Sinatra because he stood up against racial prejudice in Vegas. And what was interesting, if you read a story, we got to move on, but just very interesting story with Sinatra was that Nat King Cole was performing at the Sands Hotel in the 1950s. And Sinatra saw Nat was eating in the car. He could perform at the hotel, but he couldn't stay. So he asked his valet, George Jacobs, why is Nat eating in the car? And mind you, Nat King Cole and Frank Sinatra were good friends. And George Jacobs told Frank what was going on. And Frank Sinatra immediately goes to the owner of the Sands Hotel goes immediately to I'm reading this article here. He goes immediately to the owner of the Sands Hotel, and he stated if blacks were not permitted to eat their meals in the dining room with everybody else, he would see to it that the whole wait staff, waiters and waitresses, were fired. And he invited Cole to eat with him that evening. He was his guest. So after that, Nat King Cole was allowed permission into the hotel, and Harry Belafonte was also allowed in there. And what was interesting was that Belafonte, he actually walked into the casino on his own accord, sat at a blackjack table with all of his chips. And Belafonte became what they call, quote, the first black man to play cards on the Las Vegas Strip. So Mr. Belafonte took a more aggressive approach. He didn't tolerate this shit. He didn't tolerate it. So he went in there and did what he had to do. Now, that's interesting when you read that story, but what happened with Nat King Cole and, Sinatra being instrumental in changing that. But he didn't tolerate stuff like that. He did not tolerate racism. So that was interesting. But yeah, Las Vegas was hella segregated back then. And we know the mafia was tied with Vegas and everything. And that man who's called Mr. Las Vegas, Mo Dalitz, he was actually, interesting enough, in his 40s, he became a second Army lieutenant during World War II. But he was the man who developed Las Vegas. He was called Mr. Las Vegas. He was a mobster, a Jewish mobster. No, Count Basie didn't. I know Duke Ellington refused to perform in segregated audiences, as well as Benny Goodman. That's what you get for not paying attention, Kimmel. I said Frank Sinatra. He didn't tolerate it. Racism. So let's go ahead. But I'm glad you brought that up. But get that book, Deconstructing Sammy. So again, we're in my neck of the woods of Louisiana, and we're going to go with Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Officer under fire right now for a video that's gone viral where he is, it's not even aggressive, he's abusive with this black woman who has to be at least almost barely 5 foot, and he's bigger than her. Now, this video Let me stop sharing for a second. Okay. So we go live now. This video comes out of, what the hell happened to it? Hold on. Courtesy of the Washington Post. This sister, her name is, call her Chantel Arnold, was walking home after she claimed she was assaulted by a group of children. And you see in this picture, Louisiana Sheriff's Deputy standing over and grabbing Miss Arnold. So he pulled up in his cruiser and told her to stop. When Arnold did not obey, the deputy allegedly got out of his vehicle and began attacking her. The encounter last month, which was partially captured in a video posted to Instagram, shows a white deputy with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office grabbing Arnold by her arm and hair and repeatedly slamming her into the pavement. The deputy manhandles Arnold and drags her to the ground, according to the video, in an incident first reported by ProPublica in partnership with WRKF, WWNO, and the Times-Picayune/New Orleans Advocate. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office is now investigating the deputy after the video went viral and caused an uproar in New Orleans. A spokeswoman with the American Civil Liberties Union of Louisiana told the Washington Post. The officer has yet to be publicly identified, as they always do, and it remains unclear whether he has been disciplined. Now, you see under here, this is from T. Youngin, who says, y'all repost, Black Lives Matter, explore viral. This needs to be seen. Send this around. Everybody, Mayor Cantrell, the mayor of New Orleans. Now, I'm going to just say this too. Since this is in Jefferson Parish, this is outside the jurisdiction of New Orleans. So Cantrell won't do shit about it anyway. And although she, of course, can comment, her voice may carry weight, she's not capable of doing anything. But I want to play the video. And just mind you all, the video is graphic. So if you don't want to see it, please turn away. But this is Kenner, Louisiana. That's in Jefferson. This is where T is from, I take it. And I don't know exactly what area this was taken, but this is definitely Jefferson Parish. So. He's grabbing her by her hair.
Oh, you got it on recording.
So that wasn't even a 10-second video. Now, I didn't see all of it. Of course, nobody other than the witnesses who may have been there. I don't know from what vantage point, it doesn't really matter. Looking at it just is hard enough. This is someone who clearly by looking at this video, she's not a tall, I can see she's not a tall person. She weighs obviously less than this man. She's not as powerful as this deputy. And yet he's manhandling her like a rag doll. Now, the sheriff of Jefferson Parish is Lapinto. And I'm looking at this. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office remains one of the largest policing agencies in the country to not have body cameras at a time when the tool is now common nationwide. So that's interesting. Now, Joe Lapinto is the JP Sheriff's Office, JP Sheriff. Before him was Newell Norman. And before Newell Norman, I remember, hold on a second, guys. I remember this man. This guy here, hold on, I'm sorry. This guy was a racist piece of shit. This is Harrah Lee. I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't care. I do business, of course, as a lawyer. I'm well familiar with JP, Jefferson Parish, and so forth. But Harrah Lee was a 6-time sheriff of Jefferson Parish. He was the 13th sheriff elected since 1979. And that was a position that he held for over 28 years. And I remember when he became, I don't remember when he became sheriff, but I remember the stories of Harrah Lee and the racism and the police brutality that was experienced by Jefferson Parish Sheriff, his Jefferson Parish deputies. Now, I experienced it personally when I was in a car with my father and my mother, my whole family. We were coming from church, and I remember my father making a U-turn out over by those that are familiar with this near Lakeside Mall. Not far from there, they were doing some type of construction work, and when you make a U-turn on the causeway, my father made a U-turn and didn't see the sign, obviously, that you couldn't turn. There was construction being done. So the deputy yells at my father, "You made a," very ugly. "No, why you made that turn? You know you made that turn." Said, "I couldn't see anything. There's no signs there." "Yes, you did. You made the U-turn. You made the turn." And I remember another deputy that was behind this particular officer, this deputy, who just told him, "Ignore him, just go on. And they let us go without warning. But I remember my father being so upset and disgusted by what happened, being talked to like that by that deputy. He came home and immediately wanted to call and tried to call and file a complaint with the JP Sheriff's Office and find out who that officer was. He actually was going to turn around and confront him. My mother was in the car like, no, don't do that. Not with the kids in the car. But when he was the sheriff, there's a list of controversies that happened under him. When an 8-year-old girl was raped in March of 1998, the police initially described 2 black males as the culprits. And Lee was criticized for declaring every black man in the subdivision was a suspect. He apologized for any offense, but insisted, quote, the practice was not racist. In fact, friends said the sheriff was just so personally shaken by the vicious attack on a girl who was also black, that he pulled out all the stops to solve the case. "I'm going to catch that bastard, and when I catch him, he is going to be black," he said. "I just don't give a damn what people think of me anymore. If that was their daughter and we weren't doing that, they would be on our ass." Several days later, he personally placed the girl's stepfather under arrest for rape, and in 2003, a jury sentenced the stepfather to death. Yeah, you could be sentenced to death for that in Louisiana. And this is the type of shit he did. Now, of course, disregarding what happened to that girl, that was horrific. And yeah, that guy deserved to be tried and convicted for what he did. He said, "I don't care." He says, "I just don't give a damn what people think of me anymore." And you look at the bottom here, despite the apparent missteps, his popularity grew from the time he took office, particularly among what? What's that say? Among whites. Good old JP. In a survey from the Times-Picayune, it showed that 84% of Jefferson Parish had a favorable impression of the sheriff, including 91% of whites. That same poll showed that while almost 9 out of 10 people thought he tells it like it is, 6 out of 10 thought he should sometimes keep his mouth shut, meaning, hey, keep that racism shit on the low. We got to do this secretly. Then, I remember this year, this happened. The worst political scare of his career had to do with crime and nothing to do with race. His fiscal management or his controversial remarks. It came in 1985 when voters learned that a convicted rapist named Brian Busby was allowed to wander Jefferson Parish unsupervised during the day instead of being locked down in state prison elsewhere. Mr. Lee granted Busby special provisions as a favor to a parish council member. 10 days after this disclosure, Busby was sent to the Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola. Lee's approval rating plunged. A year later, after a series of Metairie robberies in which white shoppers were followed to their homes and held up at gunpoint in their driveways by black men, Lee made the following statement, which either almost ended or saved his career. If there are some young blacks driving a car late at night in a predominantly white neighborhood, they will be stopped. There's a pretty good chance they're up to no good. It's obvious two young blacks driving a rinky-dink car in a predominantly white neighborhood. I'm not talking about on the main thoroughfare, but if they're on one side of the streets and they're cruising around, they'll be stopped. Outrage was immediate, and Mr. Lee quickly canceled the order and apologized as the NAACP called for his resignation. When he ran for his third term the next year, however, Lee failed to win the primary but defeated Art Latini in the runoff with 54% of the vote. And he also did a lot of things, including it was reported that he tried to put a barricade on the street line dividing majority black New Orleans and majority white East Jeff. Mr. Lee turned the story. They say it was false, but I don't believe it was false. Into political capital. Depending on who I'm talking to, he said, I either take credit for the barricade or I don't. On another occasion, he defended his decision to yank deputies out of an all-black neighborhood in Avondale after residents complained about police brutality. Now, interesting enough, his sister is China Lee, who's Playboy's first Asian American centerfold, and was also the wife to comedian Mark Soul. Now, you guys don't know who that is, and for purposes of that conversation, it doesn't matter. But Harrah Lee actually has a statue named in his honor outside of the deputy station. There was talks even of naming the Crescent City Connection after him, which I vehemently would protest because that Crescent City Connection after Katrina, they used that and held black people who were trying to get out of flooded New Orleans into higher ground. They kept them out of there, being the Gretna police. Now, Gretna, of course, while that's part of Jefferson Parish, that was the Gretna Police Department. I don't believe they directly had ties with Harrah Lee since he's a sheriff. But nevertheless, you know, a lot of us, we all lump them in. When we would come up, we all lumped them in. They were all the same to us because they all came from him. But Harrah Lee has a whole monument named after him outside, a statue dedicated to him outside of the sheriff's office, which I'm not surprised about. And I'm bringing up, they've even talked about this here. So he was involved in the direct ordering of the bridge being barricaded. So he was a part of that. Yeah, he was a piece of shit. And I'm not holding anything back. I know you don't speak ill of the dead, but this was a racist motherfucker. And people have a problem with me saying that. Oh, well, Y'all who are from New Orleans, you know exactly what I'm talking about because we went through all of this stuff. So when I see videos of this young sister who was dragged to the ground, now look at this. This was a Chantel Arnold. She's in her early 20s. She's in her early 20s. She's walking home. She claims she was assaulted by some bullies. It says here, let's look at the story. I'm going to go back to the story here. Arnold was walking near her family's trailer home at about 2 p.m. on September 20th when she was allegedly attacked by 3 boys in the neighborhood for several minutes. Her family told ProPublica that she had become an easy target for bullies because she was only 4'8", weighed about 100 pounds, and was missing her left eye from a previous car accident. So she's blind in one eye. That's another advantage that this cop had. After Gray chased the boys away, Arnold, who had been laughed at by a crowd that surrounded her during the initial attack, stumbled down the road and then stood up. That's when a police officer approached her and told her to stop. She later recalls to an internal affairs investigator. I'm on my way home. I didn't make it all the way to the block. The police came out of nowhere, swarming and getting me like, come here. I'm like, what's going on? What are y'all doing? She told the deputy she had been attacked and just wanted to go home. When she did not follow his demand, the sheriff's deputy exited his cruiser, grabbed Arnold, and threw her to the ground. Arnold's uncle, Tony Gibbons, told investigators. Gray confirmed the account in an interview with Internal Affairs. She didn't have a chance to pull away because, this guy was strong. He grabbed her arm in some kind of move he made, and she went down to the ground. Okay. Now, couple of things and questions I have to ask as we look through this article. Now, she was not charged with a crime. She was taken to the hospital for her injuries. She had bruises and scratches, a busted lip, and recurrent headaches were because of the encounter with the deputy, not with the boys. So I was going to ask, a very important question we got to ask is, did this deputy or white supremacist who hides behind a badge question those boys is like he questioned, or I'd say he didn't question Miss Arnold, but did he talk to those boys like he talked to Miss Arnold? I doubted that he did because I would have seen it, but all right, what's up, Madam Magma? She said you got the shadow banner. Yeah, but look, we hot and heavy tonight. Did he question these boys? I hope Miss Arnold gets every penny in a lawsuit by this bastard. This could not have been. I'm a lawyer, and I know I can only speak I'm not going to encourage violence as a lawyer, as you know. I can't do that. But hypothetically speaking, Chantel Arnold, who's 34 years old, so she's a year younger than me. Had she been, my girlfriend is barely under 5 feet. So if this had, hypothetically, had happened to her, my girl, and it didn't even have to happen to my girl, if it happened to any female that I knew, or not even any female I knew, but just seeing this, and I was standing there, hypothetically now, I'm not saying I'm not encouraging violence, but hypothetically, I would find the nearest plank that was abandoned. That area looks like it's a field for garbage. I'm sure they would have one there. Grab it, hypothetically, swing it, hypothetically, right at this cocksucker's head. Hypothetically now. Hypothetically, I'm not encouraging violence. I'm not encouraging violence. It's all just hypothetically. Okay? Y'all understand it's hypothetically. Because there's no way in hell hypothetically, any man should see, we talk about, you remember how these fads start about violence against women, how the NFL is supposed to be against all of this stuff? Well, we don't encourage violence against women. Remember when that started after Ray Rice? But yet it's okay to assault a blind 34-year-old woman. And of course, they try to defend, Joe LaPinto is the sheriff. Of course, they're going to defend their deputies. I expect that from them. But the fact that you are one of the largest largest sheriff's organizations in this country, your office is one of the largest in this country, and yet you have no body cameras. I don't even know if they have dash cameras available. You don't have that, that's a problem for me. And God knows, I'm sure there are more Chantel Arnolds. I'm sure there are more Ahmaud Arbery's or George Floyd's we haven't even heard of or seen out in JP, because it looks like they just go ahead and cover this stuff up. Now, there's a reason why you guys know me, and I've advocated, especially living out here in the East, why we need stuff out here in economic development. It's because, and I stated before, we're always forced to shop and go places where we're not welcomed. Why would I want to spend my tax dollars and money in a racist ass city like Jefferson, racist ass parish like Jefferson? I mean, I'm forced to do it anyway, because if I want to go to, racism is everywhere. I know that. We're going to deal with bigotry no matter where you go. So does it really matter? Well, sometimes it does, because our tax dollars go and benefit these people. We're supporting them. I'm frankly sick of it. I want stuff out here closer to home. And we have our city leaders who are too cowardly to actually do the right thing and bring that development here. No movie theaters out here in East, no mall, no center. I don't consider Dollar General economic development. We got about 8 of them. They pop up like roaches. It's all hypothetical, Boss Queenie. I don't know about you all, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, as Fannie Lou Hamer said, and coming on these channels and showing all this stuff. And then nothing happens to this officer. He's not even named. We're going to continue to monitor this, but my city's got 2 strikes already. What happened to that Army lieutenant at Harrah's Casino, and then what happened at in Jefferson Parish, although that's not technically my city, but it's my area. I get along with anybody that treats me correctly, but I'm done with this. People really need to just start standing up to this type of people and saying, we're not going to tolerate this shit. You got to deal with us living right here. You got a problem with it? Oh, well. But that's been today's channel, guys. We're going to get out of here. It's been almost 2 hours now. If you like this channel, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. What's up, Northern Belle? What's up, Boss Aquatia, Madam Magma, Superstar Bella? Haven't seen Superstar Bella in before. Yeah, he was trash. Hey, but that anti-Asian crime bill, anti-hate against Asians, I'm sure Harrah Lee would have been all over if he were alive. All in favor of it. If you have not, ladies and gentlemen, please go to my website, our website, NorniesCreoleBlends.com, and order you some seasoning of Nornie's Creole Blends. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nornie's goes great with every dish. If you'd like to advertise with the channel, please hit up the email at the bottom, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. Also, you may go to the Patreon and look up premium content for this channel, things you won't find on YouTube that will be there. I do have a quick announcement. I'll start next week. We will have a trailer for the book, Bill Cosby, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby, The Destruction of Due Process in America. I'm going to make that available by next week for everybody, and I will have an announcement. Also, what's up, DeAndre? Thank you. It's been a great broadcast. They've been taught to think that they're better. Yes. They've been privileged. And it's our job to show them, no, you're not. So also, if you have not, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go also to look up after you look up Noni's Creole Seasoning Blends. I want you to check out, thank you, Madam Magma, my latest single, Video Soul, which is available on iTunes, Apple, Spotify. You can stream it on Spotify. You can also download it and purchase it. That would be great. It always helps me. That's another way to support me. And also, if you would go and check out Gotta Get On Up, which is the theme song for our show. Since we've gotten on down, it's time now to get on up. In the meantime, if you choose to, you can donate at any of the links at the bottom. I always put that there because it helps the channel grow, helps support the channel, that we can get more stuff done as we take time away from it. Join me this Thursday. I'm going to have Sean James come back on. We're going to do topics, random topic Thursdays. This is our hottest live stream on Thursday nights. Have him stop by. Also, I will go ahead and let you all know when the book is available. That's coming soon. I'm still going through a legal process with it, but I was trying to push for a Halloween date with it, but hopefully it can be available on Amazon by that time. I'm not quite sure, just depending on what my legal department looks over it. They said they're looking at it right now, so that's just one of those things we're going with, guys. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, please go ahead and gotta get on up as we boogie on out of here. I will be back late this Thursday again. I'm gonna have some videos I'll be doing soon in the meantime, or some standalone. I miss doing those, a few of those. So you guys be safe, be blessed, and let's go ahead and get on up. I'll holla. Peace, guys. Love y'all. Thank you, Knight Rider. Thank you, Boss of Queenie, DeAndre. Appreciate it.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we're living. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. feeling like I'm feeling. So come on, baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the. Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll feel the groove. Get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor, baby. Yeah, gotta get on the floor, baby. Come on, baby, gotta get on the floor, baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor.
Now comes the copyright strike, guys.